I uploaded some material last week. They are basically books by Oliver Sacks and some more. There is one more book that I want to upload, but that's little heavy, so I'll cut it down and put it this week. Okay, so as we discussed, so far we have seen a general picture of cognitive science and also some of the methods that are used. So today we'll cover two sections that are very important: perception and memory. All of us perceive and all of us have memory, and it's interesting to look at them and see. Perception itself is a big topic, so it's if I claim that I can finish it in one day or in one class, it's impossible, but I'll look at some parts and then we'll go about it. Memory is also a huge area. In some places you'll find that memory itself is a course. Perception itself is a course. Before I start and I show you some 2-3 things, I'll tell you a story and I'll ask you a question at the end of this story, okay? So just listen to this story, and if you have to make some calculations, make it also, because at the end I'll ask a question. So there was a bus which started and it had no people, empty bus. So it stopped at one stop. 5 people got into the bus, okay? Bus started again, and then it went and stopped on the second stop. 7 people got in, okay? Bus started again. Third stop, 2 people got down, 3 people got up, okay? Again the bus started, stopped, 6 people got down and nobody got in. Again bus moved, got to the next stop. 2 people got in, nobody got down. Next stop. 5 people got in, 2 people got down. Okay? Last stop, all of them got down. Question is, what do you think the question should be? How many stops? And how many you thought that the question will be how many people? Usually this is what happens when, you know, it's called selective attention. It's a part of selective attention that you focus on one kind of information. You were calculating probably how many people got in, how many people got down. But if the question is asked how many bus stops, you didn't even count how many bus stops. Did you count? How? 7 bus stops. Okay. So it's an interesting area. It's an interesting case that how do we look into information? How do we process information? And this is related with your memory and perception also. You have seen this picture? Read it. A bird in the bush. What did you read? A bird in the bush. Anything wrong in that picture? There were 2 the's. So many people don't notice it. Again, the thing is that you know that the sentence should be the bird in the bush. You don't notice the other the. This is an interesting thing. what you need to do is just, this is also called Stroop effect. You need to read the color of the word and try reading it fast. Can you do it? Anyone? Who is the bravest person here? Anyone who can volunteer? Try reading it, okay, in your mind also. Read the color of the word, not the sentence itself. Anyone? Try.
Purple, yellow, red, black,
No.
red. No.
Read
Too fast.
Yeah, read the color.
Okay. Purple, blue, green. No. Purple, blue, green, yellow, green, brown, blue, red, yellow, brown, yellow, blue, green, red, brown. Black, brown.
Try once more.
Once
Only
more?
the color. So this is red, blue, green, yellow, and read it fast.
So red, blue, green, yellow, green, blue, black, blue, red, yellow, black, yellow, blue, green, red, black.
Faster.
Red, blue, green, yellow, green, black, blue, red, yellow, black, yellow, black, blue, green, red, black.
Anyone
Faster,
else wants
faster.
to try? Thank you. Anyone else wants to try? Okay. But this is called Stroop effect, and you know why it is happening. Because you have two different kinds of information. One is the visual information, which is coming in the form of color, and the other one is the also visual information but linguistic information, and they are not coherent, so they are incoherent information, and many studies were done using Stroop effect also. Look at this picture, just look at it, and I'll ask questions again. It's Christmas time, so it's a good picture. Okay. First question, how many houses can you see in the image? 2? 2 houses. How many lamps does the street light possess? This one, no? Okay, let's... Is the Christmas tree in the middle higher or lower than houses? Higher? How many houses do not have fence? None? Oh. How many houses have a smoking chimney? 1? Where is the smoking chimney? Okay, how many fences do not have a gate? Fence is this one. What's in the background beyond houses? Trees. Okay. Some of you got the answers, but the point is that we do not see the whole picture as in details. Only when you are asked or probed, then only we get into the details of it. It has a reason. The reason is very simple. The reason is that our brain is lazy and it sleeps most of the time, you can say. It doesn't want to work, because if you see that a lot of information is coming to us, and if you want to process it, all of them, it becomes very difficult. You can't process, because most of the time I know that tables do not move, these stairs will not move, the light will not move. So I don't have to process them every time. I just need to process information that is moving. So then I take, okay, only faces. And I am sure that if you ask me, here I can see some faces, but if you ask me outside, oh, I saw you in class, did you see me? I cannot remember, because it's just one frame for me, and it's difficult to remember the detail unless I am asked to do it. So let's get into the issue of perception, because it is very complex issue. So perception also sounds very interesting, that is the organization, identification and interpretation of sensory information in order to represent and understand the environment. Now this is sensory information. Usually when people talk about perception, the most work is done on visual perception because that's the primary thing. But I don't know if you ever speak to a person who does not have visual capacity or capability and ask that person, a blind child during birth will not have much problem because his or her perceptual system or organization of the world is very different. There was a case where one person had vision, but at the age of 3 lost it because of some reason. And at the age of 55 or something, new technology came and his pupil and cornea some operation took place, and then he was able to see it. So it was not a brain level problem, it was only the eye level problem. So when the eye changed, he was able to see it. But the problem he had was that he was not able to organize things. So if he saw the face, he saw the nose hanging somewhere, ears hanging somewhere, because he never had the organization learning using the vision system. So he had to touch everything again to make the organization. So perception is not just processing of information, sensory information, it is more about organizing also. This I got from a very funny picture. The 5 senses we have: sight, hearing, taste, smell and touch. Which one do you think is most important? Sight? Why?
Because I think without sight I can't understand anything that is around me. For example, I don't care if I can't hear something, but if I see, it's like more important.
So vision for you is more important. Anyone who has other view that more than sight there is something else also. If we do not have that sight, what will happen? So vision will not allow you to move and all other things. Okay. So all of you agree that vision is the most important sense. You have some other view?
For me, it's touch.
Touch?
Because of experience of blind people, I know that they hear and sight with hands, so they can
make sense of the
make
word,
sense
yeah.
of.
So that's fine. So touch, according to you, is important. How many of you say taste and smell is important? You all know the taste of potato, apple, and onion, right? They all are 3 different tastes. But if I claim that the taste is same, actually, try using it. Close your nose and eat. Apple, onion, potato will taste same. It will not make any difference. The taste is very much, mixed with smell. But yes, everyone will have different version that what is more important, and we don't know which one is more important. We know some people do not have sight, but they still move around. They can move, they can live. People who have hearing problem, they can still move around. Taste and smell, if the person does not have, then you can't have party. But touch is all around us. So our body is made of touch. Every part of our body is the sensation point. It gives you the thing. We'll go one by one and then see which one is important. All of them are important probably. There is something called 6th sense also. Anyone knows which? sixth sense? We don't know. But apart from that, we also have something called sense of movement, sense of time, sense of pain, sense of balance, sense of acceleration. But yes, they all come from five different points that we have. So let's talk about auditory perception a little bit. We have the audible spectrum. Anything which is 20 to 20,000 hertz, it's useless for us, we don't hear it. But there are other animals that have different level of audible spectrum. So for example, bat has 2000 to 120,000 hertz. Cats have different level, dogs, elephant, dolphins have 75 to 150,000 hertz. So they can hear a lot of other sounds also, which we cannot hear. This looks like a biology class. Let's not get into the details of the picture, let's have a video. Because video is more interesting. It's just a small idea of how the sound works.
The sense of hearing is accomplished by a process known as auditory transduction. The ear converts sound waves in the air into electrical impulses, which can be interpreted by the brain. As sound enters the ear, it passes through the external auditory canal, where it meets the tympanic membrane. The tympanic membrane then vibrates in response to the sound. Sounds of a lower pitch or frequency produce a slower rate of vibration, and sounds of lower volume or amplitude produce a less dramatic vibration. Higher frequency sounds produce faster vibrations. The tympanic membrane is cone-shaped and articulates with a chain of 3 bones called the auditory ossicles. They consist of the malleus, the incus, and the stapes. The movements of the tympanic membrane vibrate the ossicles, passing on the information of frequency and amplitude. The 3 bones pivot together on an axis shown here in red. The pivotal axis is due to a series of ligaments which hold the bones in place within the middle ear cavity. The anterior malleal ligament and the posterior incutal ligament are of particular importance for the pivotal axis. 2 structures which normally obscure this view of the middle ear have been removed. They are the chordae tympani nerve and the tendon of the tensor tympani muscle. Through the ossicles, the vibrations of the tympanic membrane are transferred to the footplate of the stapes. The stapes moves with a piston-like action, which sends vibrations into a structure called the bony labyrinth. The labyrinth is filled with a fluid called perilymph. If it were a completely closed and inflexible system, the movement of the stapes would be unable to displace the perilymph, and therefore unable to send vibrations into the bony structure. Due to the flexibility of a membrane called the round window, the stapes movement can displace the perilymph, allowing vibrations to enter the labyrinth. The corridor leading to the round window is found within the spiral portion of the bony labyrinth known as the cochlea. Vibrations produced by the stapes are drawn into the spiral system and return to meet the round window. The portion of the spiral passage in which vibrations ascend to the apex of the cochlea is called the scala vestibuli. The descending portion of the passage is called the scala tympani. A third structure, called the cochlear duct, is situated between the scala vestibuli and the scala tympani. The cochlear duct is filled with a fluid called endolymph, and when viewed in cross-section, the membranes separating the two fluid-filled systems are visible. They are Reissner's membrane and the basilar membrane. The membranes are flexible and move in response to the vibrations traveling up the scala vestibuli. The movements of the membranes then send vibrations back down to the scala tympani. A specialized structure called the organ of Corti is situated on the basilar membrane. As the basilar membrane vibrates, the organ of Corti is stimulated, which sends nerve impulses to the brain via the cochlear nerve.
Okay, so
the actual nerve impulses are generated by specialized cell.
I'll upload this video, you can see it, but it's a very complicated mechanism of sound also, you see. But the most interesting part is that once vibrations and all these things are inside our brain, it gets converted into impulses, the electric impulses. And if you see that when vision also comes, so photons, they hit our eyes, retina, and then we process it in eye. But again, when it goes to neurons, what happens, it also gets converted into impulses. So inside our brain, whatever is the data coming from outside, from whatever mechanism, they all get converted into impulses, electric impulses. And so then the question comes that when inside everything is electric impulses, then how do we organize stuff? Imagine that, this is a very interesting question I always have, that if you have all your auditory data coming in terms of electric impulses, and instead of sending it to occipital lobe the auditory information which is sent to auditory cortex, if it is sent to occipital lobe where the vision is processed, what will happen? Will you see the sound? Why not? Or opposite, all your eye data that is coming in terms of impulses, instead of sending it to your visual cortex, it is sent to your auditory cortex. And will you hear the image or pictures? How the brain learns that which impulse to process in what way. If it is processed in visual cortex, then you start seeing it. So any data you send to visual cortex will produce some image, something you will see. And any sound data that you put in auditory cortex, it will produce some kind of sound, some kind of auditory consciousness. And that's where the higher level memory and concepts and other things come into play, where the actual data does not give you the actual picture of the world. It's all your memory, all your concepts, all your context, all your background that creates the world. So you can very well have a small child, suppose a child is born, 2 days old child. I'm just thinking of a thought experiment. Do an operation and some mechanism just turn all his, auditory information not to auditory cortex but to visual cortex, and same the other way. What will happen to that child? probably that child will start, seeing sound. And so it's a thought experiment, think about it. But the point is that actual information is all converted into single data, single kind of data, that is electrical impulses. Good picture, right? Touch. Tactile perception is also interesting. This is considered one of the 5 traditional senses. I have a video, but I will not show the video because we don't have much time. But our brain has representation of all body parts. But it's not equal. It's not a socialist society. It's a very capitalistic society. And it's a matter of real estate. Every body part fights to get a place in brain. It's like if you buy a land in Rome, it will be expensive, right? So same place here also, it may be Rome or somewhere, and you have to fight for it. There was this very interesting experiment with monkeys. So what they found was that, so if you move one finger continuously, so this finger has a connection with a part of your brain which gets activated every time you move this finger. And when you have, say, the other finger which keeps moving, then also you have this part, this representation is getting, part of the brain gets activated. But what they did was that they tied these 2 fingers. And so every time this guy moves one finger, his second finger is also moving. And you can see it in the brain so what will happen? Both brain areas will get activated. After a month or some time, what they did was that they removed this thing. And then the monkey was asked to move only this finger. What will happen? Both areas get activated. Because now the areas have merged. So the point basically is that you have brain representation, but it's a fight that brain area has to be acquired. And your body parts try to acquire. So this entire area is for your hands and limbs. Tongue has a huge brain area, lips,